dream. It's like a blessing. You know, you got Debo, George, B.A., Christian. List goes on.
2 weeks ago, the San Francisco 49ers were riding high after giving my Dallas Cowboys a brutal spanking. I mean, really, it wasn't even a spanking. It was like a unlubricated anal fisting on national television. I can't believe they even allowed NBC to show that live. It seemed like the NFC ran through them. And boy, what a difference 2 weeks has made. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we got all that out of the way, break. Ladies and gentlemen, every time PrizePicks has done this, it's practically been free money for us. For the opening weeks of the NFL season, we've had a lot of success on PrizePicks. I've been showing you guys my picks on Instagram, and I post my picks there for free consistently at The Flight Mike. And typically, you need to at least make 2 correct picks in order to make money. But in this case, PrizePicks is giving us a free Steph Curry square. Steph Curry only needs 1 point in order for his square to convert. So we just need to get 1 pick right at minimum to make money here. So if you're an NFL fan, I'm looking at Tyreek Hill scoring a touchdown versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you're an NBA fan, I'm looking at Michael Porter Jr. to grab more than 5.5 rebounds. Make sure you use my promo code Mikerophone to get a $100 deposit match when you sign up at PrizePicks. This is easily my favorite promo of the year. We've had a lot of success with it in the past. I'm going to show you additional picks on my Instagram story. And thank you, PrizePicks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? My apologies if the editing quality is a little off here, guys. My editor really needed the night off. He's been working like crazy. The San Francisco 49ers crushed my Dallas Cowboys 2 weeks ago. It was truly a miserable experience. I mean, that loss as a Dallas Cowboy fan really sucked my soul and made me way less optimistic about this season. There was even a part of me that was actually considering that this year might not be our year. But jokes aside, following that, I said, hey, look, the Dallas Cowboys lost to one of the best teams in the entire NFC. A team that had a very legitimate chance of making it to the Super Bowl, assuming that everyone is healthy. But then something really strange happened. They faced off against the Cleveland Browns, the PJ Walker-led Cleveland Browns. Now, look, I'm a huge fan of PJ Walker. I think what he was able to achieve following his brief tenure in the XFL when he won MVP, leveraging that into playing for his former head coach Matt Rule with the Carolina Panthers, and then getting another opportunity with the Cleveland Browns as their backup QB, and now amassing as many wins with the Cleveland Browns as Deshaun Watson has so far. I mean, it's a hell of a story, and honestly, maybe it's time that we make a video on the Deshaun Watson trade. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think it's not too soon for that. But you have to admit, after spanking the Dallas Cowboys on national television, brutally anally fisting the Dallas Cowboys on national television, you would think that the San Francisco 49ers would be able to handle the Cleveland Browns and the backup QB under center. I mean, this is a Cleveland Browns team that didn't even have Nick Chubb. And believe it or not, the San Francisco 49ers put together one of their worst performances of the year. They would lose 19-17, and it was a big story because it was the first time Brock Purdy ever lost a game, which to me is a very big deal. He was on a very impressive run up until this point, but he was abysmal against the Cleveland Browns. I mean, 12 of 27, 125 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So at this point, one thing was clear. Brock Purdy had to redeem himself. This time on Monday Night Football, this time against a team that is actually struggling mightily, a team that is consistently in the discussion of trading one of its star players. Leading up to this game, we're getting information on how the Minnesota Vikings are interested in trading Danielle Hunter before the trade deadline. There's even been instances of Kirk Cousins being in trade rumors. It wasn't up until Monday Night Football that we found out that Kirk Cousins wasn't going to be available for trade. And honestly, I could have told you that, but that should give you an idea of how bleak it's looking for the Minnesota Vikings. On top of that, Justin Jefferson, their best player, is out. So this game is quite literally gift wrapped for the San Francisco 49ers, for their ferocious defense. And it was an incredible game. Kirk Cousins had 378 passing yards, went 35 of 45 from the field, threw for 2 touchdowns and an interception. But the real story in this instance was none other than Brock Purdy. You see, Brock Purdy was able to be at least a little bit more efficient than he was in his previous game, where he wasn't able to crack the 200-yard passing mark. He would go 21 of 30, 272 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and had a passer rating of 81.5. So you might be wondering, what's the problem? Well, Brock Purdy had multiple opportunities in this game to win the game against the Minnesota Vikings. Mind you, that defeating the Minnesota Vikings may close the door on their season. I mean, if the Vikings win, then they'll get tremendous momentum moving forward. This was a team that at a specific point was 1-4. So clearly, a few more losses would put the nail in the coffin, and they would even be considering rebuilding at that point. So I don't know if that's what motivated Kirk Cousins to play the best football of his young season, or if it was because it was during prime time, but there were multiple instances in this particular game that Brock Purdy had the opportunity to win. Now, personally, my opinion of Brock Purdy is he is incredible. I mean, I've said it on record so far this year. He is exactly what the San Francisco 49ers would hope that Mac Jones would have been if they drafted Mac Jones. It's a huge reason why Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones during the 2021 NFL draft. He's really surgical in his precision. He's pinpoint accurate. And for some reason, it doesn't seem like he was that quarterback, at least in the fourth quarter. The first opportunity to win the game came with about 5 minutes to go in the game. Brock Purdy would drop back, look down the middle, and completely overthrow his intended wide receiver and would give the ball back to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, luckily for Brock Purdy, the Minnesota Vikings weren't able to make the most out of that opportunity. They still gave Brock Purdy another chance to win the game. When he got around his own 45, he once again threw another interception. This one was a little bit more disappointing than the first one. So you could without a doubt say that Brock Purdy lost the San Francisco 49ers this game. It's not a bold take at all whatsoever. It's not a bold statement at all whatsoever. Brock Purdy had 2 opportunities to win, and he didn't win. Now, I already know San Francisco 49ers fans might come out and say, hey, they don't have Deebo Samuel, and that's a very fair assessment. But if you look at the Minnesota Vikings, they were very injured as well. And in the offseason, my take on Brock Purdy is we might be looking at Nick Foles 2.0 in the sense that we got a small sample size of this young man playing, and he crushed it in that small sample size. But now that there's tape on him, maybe in year 2, he might have some more difficulty getting it going. And then he proved me wrong. During the first 5 games of the season, especially when it came to my team, he spanked them 42-10. So that made me a believer. And then the past 2 weeks happened, and for once, he actually looked quite human. So I guess the point here is, yes, he did get exposed on national TV, and I guess we saw the worst version of him. But the real question is, which Brock Purdy could you expect to get consistently? The Brock Purdy that spanked the Dallas Cowboys' top-ranked defense on national television? Or the Brock Purdy that threw 2 crucial interceptions in crunch time versus the Minnesota Vikings? At the end of the day, I don't think this is like a doomsday scenario. I think it's one of those situations where you just have to sit and wait. Maybe he got drunk off of his crazy win against the Cowboys, and that's the reason why he didn't perform as well over the past 2 weeks. The Browns are a very good defense as well. But I have to admit, if you're a 49ers fan, you have to be sweating a little bit more, because the 49ers went all in on Brock Purdy. They traded Trey Lance to the Dallas Cowboys for a 4th-round pick and they gave up on him quite literally after like 4 games. Maybe they just felt like he was so behind in his development that it was worth trading Trey Lance. But at this point, it's not a scenario where if Brock Purdy stinks, you could go back to Trey Lance. If Brock Purdy stinks, then you're going to Sam Darnold. Either way, I think this is a situation where we have to wait and see before really making definitive conclusions on Brock Purdy as a player. But I will admit, for the very first time, I didn't think Superman was on that football field. And so far, up until this point, I've thought Brock Purdy was Superman whenever he stepped onto the football field. If you're a 49ers fan, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What was the main reason you guys lost tonight if it wasn't Brock Purdy? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.